recap on this. We had the president wanted to deport Venezuelan gang members. He was using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 in order to do so without any sort of a hearing. That would give people the president the opportunity to detain and deport people without due process during times of war. We have not declared war against Venezuela, so the Venezuelan gang members are not considered combative enemies. They may be considered, you could even say domestic terrorists if you wanted to, but there's still due process that's involved. A judge says, yeah, you can't do that, and so you can't deport these guys without due process.
And no sending them to El Salvador. They have to stay here for now.
Trump said, too late, they're already in the air. The judge said, turn that plane around. The president's lawyers then said, you didn't write it down, no countsies. Now, the president, not happy with this judge, says he should be impeached. Justice John Roberts is trying to come to the rescue. You've heard of judge shopping before. Mm-hmm. This is where people they'll try to find a court that may be more sympathetic to their cause and say, we want to get this done. For instance, if you're liberal, you want to get it done in the Ninth Circuit Court. If you're conservative, you want to get it done in the Texas federal courts, that kind of thing, or the 10th Circuit Court too. And so in this case, though, this isn't just judge shopping. This is akin to returning the judge without a receipt and asking for store credit, right? I'm not just judge shopping. I didn't really like this judge. I took it home for the weekend, gave it a shot. Wasn't what I wanted. I'd like a different one. Can I just go grab something off the shelf and bring it back to customer service? That's what he's asking right now. Roberts, the store clerk, says, no, you took the tag off. You don't get to return it this way. Joining us right now is Barry Markson, our KTAR legal analyst. And Barry, judge shopping, judge returning, Chief Justice getting involved. Why would Roberts get involved in this little tiff to begin with? It feels like he could have just kind of sat this out and just watched it play out politically.
Well, Chief Justice Roberts, as the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, isn't just responsible for his court. He's responsible for all federal courts, all the judges. He's the leader of all of that. So him stepping up and reminding President Trump, which he did, by the way, in the first term over a similar issue, that you don't pick your own judge and that we don't impeach judges because of a decision, I think is very important. And we're, you're seeing this a lot from Trump right now and from a lot of folks in his little administration there, who are attacking every judge who is just doing their job. I mean, I've heard so many people over the last several weeks saying that federal judges don't have the right to issue an order stopping an order of the president. Well, that's just simply not true. That's exactly what federal judges are supposed to be doing, to making sure that laws passed are constitutional, that action taken by the executive branch is also constitutional. That's what judges are supposed to do, and that's what these judges are doing. So I thought it was very important and very good for Chief Justice Roberts to stand up and, as a reminder, very gently remind the country that we don't impeach judges and we shouldn't be attacking judges for their decision. That's why we have an appellate process.
Talking with our KTAR legal analyst, Barry Markson. Barry, how do federal judges get assigned to certain cases? What's the process?
It depends on the district, but generally it's a random assignment. In some districts, the chief judge can assign it specifically. In other districts, it's usually random. So I'll give you an example down in Florida, where Trump's case, the Mar-a-Lago documents case, the case where he was taking documents home after he lost the 2020 election and wouldn't return them. That was randomly assigned to that judge down there who was a Trump appointee and resulted in some interesting rulings. So, but generally it's a random assignment.
Barry Markson, our KTAR legal analyst, he did mention impeaching a judge. And as you pointed out, we shouldn't be impeaching judges simply because we don't get the ruling that we wanted. That's not really the whole point of the federal judiciary. However, I do know that there's a process for removing a judge through impeachment. Why would a judge have to be removed through impeachment? Is this only if they show up drunk to work?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I mean, if they're doing something that's so derelict in their duties, I mean, it's in the Constitution what you would do to impeach, but it's not going to happen here. It would require half of the House of Representatives to vote to impeach, and then 2/3 of the Senate. That's not happening here. So this is just Trump trying to distract, and this is what he does: attack, hoping it gets judges or other people to back off or just be so chilled in what they do. This judge is the chief judge of the DC Circuit. He's not going to back off. He's going to require the Trump administration to provide some information to make sure that they did not violate the court order on purpose. He's doing what he's supposed to do, and frankly, what every judge would do in this circumstance, in my experience.
I'm going to paraphrase. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that public officials don't have the right to defy court opinions. So if Trump continues to say he's carrying out the will of the people and continues to do whatever he wants, is there anything that a judge can do to stop him?
Well, there's two different things here. Trump can say whatever he wants, but
Hmm.
if you're asking me if the Trump administration ignores a court order or
Yes.
violates a court order,
Yep.
yeah, there's things the judge can do. So there's
Such
sanctions
as?
that can be made. There's sanctions that can be made against the administration. There's specific sanctions that can be made against the lawyers that are in there. You're going to find here that these Justice Department lawyers they're only going to be willing to go so far when they're in there making arguments to the court that this is national security issues and we can't show the judge these things. And the judge correctly pointed out that I look at secret information like this all the time. This judge actually even had formally sat on the FISA court, and judges see that information all the time. So those arguments aren't going to fly. And if the lawyers don't comply with the order, the first thing the judge can do is sanction those lawyers. It can be as much as putting them in jail. I don't expect that to happen here, but I think the Justice Department and those lawyers are going to be going back to the administration saying, "Look, I'm not going to make arguments and say things to a court that aren't true, and I'm not going to do things that are going to end up getting me sanctioned or getting my bar card pulled because I'm doing something that's unethical." They're not going to do that. At least I would hope they wouldn't. So I think what you're seeing now is the administration seems to be trying to comply with the court's order. They're trying to show that they didn't violate the order. To the extent they did, I would expect there to be some punishment meted out by this judge.
Barry Markson, our KTAR legal analyst. What about future cases, Barry? Do they all have to fall into this court, or can the Justice Department try to steer cases to other more friendly courts? I don't know, Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida's court, where she's overseeing his other cases that she's decided he's done nothing wrong.
Well, again, it depends on where the case is brought. So you're seeing cases all over the country that are being brought by. I mean, we have Chris Mays, Arizona's Attorney General, has brought cases in conjunction with a lot of other states, and those cases have been brought in all states all over the country. So it depends on where the case is brought.
Okay.
And that's here. This happened in D.C., and that's why it was brought here. So I don't think you're going to see everything in front of this judge. It'll be in front of a whole bunch of different judges. But you're starting to see the judiciary, to see these judges doing their jobs, asking questions, putting injunctions in place if they think that the administration is doing something that could potentially be unconstitutional. We've seen orders where the judges are ordering the Trump administration to reinstate some grants that were made, to reinstate employees that were fired. This is interesting. What Trump's been doing is it's just like throwing everything at it at once and kind of flooding the field. You're starting to see the judiciary do its job, and people bring these lawsuits to slow that process.
Last one for our legal expert, Barry Markson, in the Chief Justice Roberts v. Trump war of words that we're seeing right now. Barry, I saw one person advocate that Judge Roberts work with Congress to take the U.S. Marshals Service back, which carries out court orders out of the control of the executive branch. I know I'm getting really deep here. What would that do?
Well, it's an interesting point because right now the judicial system has no way of enforcing its own orders. So our whole country, our whole system works because each of the branches of government honor and respect the other's authority. They can argue about it, but when those arguments happen, they go to the courts, and the courts decide, and we live by that decision. If the Trump administration starts to breach these orders, starts to just violate court orders and says, we're not going to do this. And you saw Tom Homan, the immigration czar, say that on TV yesterday, that I don't care what the judges say. That's an incredibly dangerous thing to do. That is an entire breakdown of our system. So right now, the only way to enforce something is through the executive branch. They have the marshals and other law enforcement at their disposal. I guess what that suggestion is to bring marshals under the court system so that the courts can enforce their own orders if the executive branch refuses to do so against themselves. I certainly hope we don't get to that place. I hope there's some people in the Trump administration who respect our system of laws and justice, even if they disagree with it. I'll be frank here, guys. I'm surprised that the Trump administration would go through all of this and attack this judge the way they are. They know this is going to get to the Supreme Court. They know they're doing something unique. This is a 1798 law that they're trying to enforce, and it's really supposed to be used, if you read it, when we're at war with the country that we're at war with. It's an incredibly unique, which is a nice way for me to say crazy way to use this law. But for them to think that this is going to end at a lower level court is ridiculous. It's going to go through the appellate process. It's going to get to the U.S. Supreme Court. Why they're creating this big fuss here, I have no idea.
KTAR legal analyst, Barry Markson. Thank you for your expertise, Barry. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Barry.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.